Hello everyone, welcome to this Selenium tutorial. In this tutorial we will learn what is Selenium and what are different component tools and libraries available in Selenium, what is the history, what kind of support is available in the Selenium. So let's begin. Before we dive into the Selenium itself, just have a brief summary of Selenium. So back in 2004 at ThoughtWorks in Chicago, there was a guy, Jason Huggins, who built a core testing tool which he named as a JavaScript test runner for their internal projects. So as they were more towards agile, so they were highly dependent on the automated testing. So this is the point from where actually they start thinking about more sophisticated tool and they come with a Selenium. Now, what is Selenium? Selenium is an umbrella project for a range of tools and libraries, which enables you to automate the web browsers. This means that you can automate your test cases. Automation testing is the key in nowadays, and that's what Selenium do. And if you focus on these two terms, tools and libraries, just keep these things in mind. So this means that Selenium has tools as well as libraries. Now if we go to the second point, it provides extension in terms of a browser extension which can emulate the user actions. Then Selenium also have a distributed server for scaling the browser location. For example, if you want to run your automated test scripts on multiple browsers at the same time in parallel, so you can do it using the distributed server. And then we have a core Selenium which is WebDriver interface. So you can write your scripts and you can execute those scripts across the different browsers. So these are three components here. So we are talking about extensions, distributed server, and WebDriver. So in terms of extension, if we go ahead, so extension is basically a Selenium IDE. Selenium IDE means Selenium's integrated development environment, which is easy to use browser extension which can record the user actions and you can replay those actions. You can also added those scripts. And if we talk about why we should use the IDE, so in terms of learning the Selenium syntax, that would be the good start. However, if you want to write a robust and test script with the robust frameworks where you want to automate the complex web applications, then Selenium IDE is obviously not a choice. So what would be that choice? So that would be either Selenium Grid or WebDriver. So if we talk about Selenium Grid, so Selenium Grid is basically allows you to execute WebDriver scripts on the remote machines by routing the commands sent by the client to the remote browser. So remote browser can be either on any remote machines. If you want to run your scripts on Chrome, Safari, Opera, Firefox, different browsers at the same time in parallel, so you can have a parallel remote machines where you have hosted these browsers and you can run this through the Selenium Grid. So this is the main concept of Grid or Selenium server. And if you notice here is that you would be running the WebDriver scripts. So WebDriver is the core as we discussed earlier. So what is WebDriver? So WebDriver is basically drives a browser natively. So you can connect with the driver and that driver will drive the browser. And how that happens is due to the language bindings. Now here if we talk about the language bindings, these bindings are the programming languages. So this means that Selenium support different languages for the WebDriver and same goes for the different browsers. In a nutshell, WebDriver is designed as a simple and more concise programming interface. WebDriver is a compact object-oriented API and it drives the browser effectively. So if you want to write the robust scripts with the robust automation frameworks where you need to automate the complex scenarios, complex web applications, so that is the best choice in terms of the automation testing. So now we learned about three things: Selenium IDE, For simple scenarios, you can automate. You can just go record your scenario, reply that scenario. That's it. You can learn about some Selenium commands as well, Selenium syntax as well. But if you want to run your scripts, complex scripts, how you can do that? You can use the WebDriver interface. And if you want to run those sophisticated, complex scenarios, then on the multiple browsers at the same time in parallel, then you will be utilizing the Selenium Grid. So, what kind of languages Selenium WebDriver supports? So, Selenium supports different languages, and out of those, the core languages are Java, Ruby, C Sharp, Python, JavaScript. So this means that you can write your script in any of these languages when you are working with the WebDriver interface. And if you ask me which language I recommend, so there is no recommendation as such. If you are good at programming in either of these languages, either you are good at Python, JavaScript, C Sharp, Ruby, or Java, you can use any of those languages. If you are a beginner in programming, then in that case I would recommend you to use the Java, because initially Selenium was developed in Java, and Java community itself is very strong and large, and most of the automation engineers use Java. So as a beginner, I would recommend Java, but if you have expertise on any of these languages, you can use any of these. And secondly, when we talk about automation itself and we are choosing this language for automation testing, so these languages are not dependent on your project. So for example, if your project is developed on C Sharp, .NET, so it is not necessary that you would be C Sharp. If you are comfortable, if you have a skill set in Ruby, then you should use the Ruby, because these scripts are separate than the application. So this, always keep this thing in mind. So if you are automating something, you should have skills on that programming language. So if you are a beginner, I would recommend you to choose the Java. Then if we talk about the different browsers where you can run your scripts, so Selenium WebDriver supports Firefox, Internet Explorer, Safari, Opera, Chrome, and Edge. So all the major browsers which are used nowadays, so you can automate those browsers, you can run your scripts on those browsers, and you can also run your scripts on the different versions of these browsers. Okay, so these are supported and you can run as well. The another thing is about the operating systems itself. So mainly 3 operating systems are supported, which is Microsoft Windows, then Mac, and Linux. So this means that if you are writing your Selenium scripts, you can choose any language and you can run your scripts on either Linux, Mac, and Windows. So this is the introduction of Selenium, and moving forward we would be start learning more about Selenium, how we can automate the different web application, how we can automate the different elements which are present on the application. For example, how you can identify a login field, how can you identify a submit button, how can you assert that button, how you can handle the pop-ups, how you can automate the drop down. So there are so many things available on the web, on the websites. So we will learn step by step and see how we can automate how we can automate those elements using the Selenium WebDriver. So for this tutorial, I would be using the Java, but you can use any of those languages. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you like our content, then do like, comment, share, and subscribe our channel. Once again, thank you so much, and see you in the next lecture.